Hello, a warm hello on this beautiful Sunday morning, the 7th of August, here in Nackenheim, Germany, between Mainz and Worms. Actually, this is the home where I grew up in. I always say, quote unquote, grew up in. Because as a child, I didn't really want to grow up too much because I felt I was restricted in my development. And so as a child, I was very much a rebel. But eventually I've come to find it's not about the revolution to go against that which we perceive restricts us, but it's about the evolution, which is a matter of the waking up and realizing, wow, I'm free and I can create basically whatever it is I want to create. It's not about the rules and regulations imposed onto me, which require me to be a certain way, but it's about realizing that that's the world that we have created, you know, with all the rules and regulations and the functions we all have to fulfill, and with the politics the way it is, and the economy, and the consumerism, and the capitalism, and the war, and the violence, and the theme. That's really about that. It's the theme of human history that basically has repeated itself ever since the beginning of time. And if you look at the news lately, especially, you know, it's like things are getting worse. So much violence and so much hatred in this world that one has to really wonder where this is going. But then also we are here to remind ourselves that to change this world, we need to change ourselves. That's really where it begins. And that's where I would like to invite you to begin on that journey. And that's something that after I lived in America and I began studying about personal development, self-development, I came to find that this is really the key, you know, to the development, the evolution of self. And it's really that self, that essence, which connects me to all, because that self is all. That self is God. You know, that's who we really are. This is our true nature. It's not our conditioned nature, which performs in this world as a consumer and producer, and all the different roles you play, be it at home or in school or at work or wherever you are. You know, this is about who you really are. This is about bridging the gap between the public self and the private self. I always wondered, why is there actually a difference between that? It's interesting, you know, how people behave in public very differently than they behave at home. And what is that really, home, that idea? Is it just the place we grew up in, you know, be it the home where we grew up in whatever country, or is it just our culture? Is that home? I always think that's interesting, the story from The Wizard of Oz. Dorothy always said there's no place like home. There's no place like home. And home, I've come to find, is really, that's where the journey leads, and that's within. The three characters there went to see the wizard to give them courage, to give them a heart and give them a brain. And Dorothy wanted to go home. But the wizard said, you know, even though he didn't exist, but he gave them the piece of wisdom, which I also like to repeat here, remind you of that. I'd like to remind you of that. That's really the key. Whatever it is you're looking for, you already had it. You just didn't know, you just weren't aware of that. And that's really what it's about, this kind of learning, which is more than a learning, it is a remembering. It is a remembering of what we already knew before we got here. You cannot really teach anything, really, but you can inspire people to learn for themselves, or rather to help you, which I would like to do very much so, is to help you to find your inner teacher. Because actually nobody can teach us anything. No guru, no master, no enlightened person. But it's really about finding that within yourself, because it's already there. And I feel it's time to really come together as one, because we all are one. The illusion of duality, you know, came into the picture when we came into this world, when we were born into this world, when we were thrown out of paradise. That's basically the beginning of human history. That's the beginning of our own life. When we came into this world, and we became part of the system, which controls everything. And the different parts of the system, which are all interconnected, the economy, politics, the educational system, the entertainment industry, the weapons industry, even the food industry, the pharmaceutical industry. It's all these industries, the system, that's really the problem. That is really like the machine. But the system we ourselves have created, and we cannot change it as we fight it. We cannot fight it. We cannot win the war on this level. So I suggest to give up all war. Just look at the reality of this world. Look at all this war. That cultures are fighting against each other. People are suffering. But it's all arranged by our governments, who basically use that as a way to distract people from what's really happening. And the fact that war is business, what do we do? How do we go against the corruption of the politicians, and the destruction of our environment, with companies who don't care at all about pumping tons and tons of waste into the oceans, or dealing with child labor, or whatever it is, or profiting from war, that people are suffering, that people are starving. How can we change that? But for one, we cannot change it through war. We need to actually end all war and realize that those who oppress us, those who are trying to use their power to control, to use war as a way to get more money for themselves. These people, or these institutions, they are not the problem, because we have created them. We have created them to realize that actually we are free and we cannot fight them. But we can change the powers of this world as we learn to give those negative things less power. And it's very difficult, especially lately, where you see so many news and on the television or in the newspaper, if you read that, about the terrible things that are happening in this world. People are afraid over these things. Then also you need to realize that fear is used as a mechanism to control people. And it's been always that way. It is not only in this world, this war and the terrible things that are happening, but it's also in school. We already teach children to be afraid of authority, and you need to do what you need to do, otherwise you get in big trouble. And then later at work, you need to follow all these rules and regulations. Oh, what was that? And so yeah, fear. It's like the acronym FALSE, evidence appearing real. Anyway, I don't want to make it too long. I kind of made it a little bit long, but then again, everything is relative. Time is relative, and we all are relatives. We all are one. On that note, I appreciate your time. I hope you're doing well. Again, my name is Christoph. I'm here in Nackenheim, and it would be wonderful to hear from you. I'm also just a Skype away. Realize to Actualize is my screen name there. And I would love to hear from you, and maybe also explore, talk to you about it, how this knowledge, how this insight can help you in your personal lives to deal with things better, deal with negativity better. Maybe help you to learn to listen to yourself more, to become more aware, to learn about what it is you really can change, because that's really the key, is change. That's also really kind thing. Thanks for watching, and keep it real.